If you're someone who does not generate enough meetings, or you're paying too much for your leads, or people simply just don't trust you enough to buy your stuff, then this is the right video for you, because I'll be sharing with you the exact solution. And this is gonna work whether you're selling coaching, consulting, agency, or even software offers. And the solution is really quite simple. It's giving free value upfront, whether that be in the form of a free course or a lead magnet. And we do this before we ask for a sales call or a purchase, because that's what actually allows us to earn the goodwill to generate more sales down the line. So why does this work? Well, let's first break down what it is that most people do and why it simply fails. Most people try to go really quickly from the initial traffic source all the way to the conversion event. As an example, people oftentimes try to just send out a cold email or a cold DM and just straight up ask for a phone call. Or someone might put up an ad on Facebook or Instagram and it's just, hey, book a call with me right now because here is this thing that I can do for you. The reality is though, whether you're doing paid media or you're doing a cold outreach on social or email, both of those situations will fail more often than not because you've built zero trust with that particular audience. You're going straight for the kill. And given how skeptical people are today, given how oftentimes people have been burned online, and the amount of sheer messages that they're probably getting in their inbox every single day, they're usually going to ignore those cold pitches. I call this inbox blindness or ad blindness. And this is what's causing you to have a low call booking rate, a high no-show rate, and even if people are jumping on calls, they're likely just not buying because they have lots of objections and lots of skepticism. Now, providing of a lead magnet or really high quality free content upfront will fix this problem. And more importantly, it can 2x, 5x, even 10x the total amount of calls that you're booking, which directly leads to more revenue. And it's not just something that you see online. It's the reason why car dealerships will provide free test drives, why Costco will give out free samples, and why software companies will give out free trials for say 7 or 14 days for you to test things out before you actually pay for their subscription. And obviously, anytime a company is willing to provide something free up front, it does cost them a little bit of money, but when you're able to provide this free value up front, it ultimately allows you to 5 to 10x your sales overall in the back end because you've earned more trust and you've allowed more people to actually enter your funnel and feel as though your offers are actually good. And it sounds obvious that this works because everyone has experienced this before, but let's break down why it actually works and how you can actually implement it for your own business. Well, the psychology behind why it works, first off, is because people are only gonna buy something if they feel as though they are likely to get really great results out of buying it. But before you actually buy anything, all you have is a guess. You're guessing whether or not this thing that you're about to buy is going to be beneficial or not beneficial to your life. Now, what impacts the math that you're doing in your mind of whether or not this thing is gonna be valuable? There's gonna be things such as your friends recommending it or research that you've done online. And that's why referrals are really great and word of mouth is really great. Obviously, it's not very scalable, but those leads tend to close more often because of the fact that they come highly recommended. But the other part of the equation is how much value have they already received from you before converting? And by converting, I mean booking a call with you or buying something that you've created. And the more value that you've already given them before you've asked for anything in return, the more likely that they're gonna think you're credible and that they'll trust you with their time and their money. And the vast majority of people just simply don't do this, right? Because they'll send out a bunch of cold emails and they're straight up asking for a call and they're surprised as to why it is that no one really ever books a meeting with them. But if you think about it, let's say you're a prospect and you have 2 offers in front of you. One offer is just a guy that's just like cold DMing you and saying, hey, I can achieve all these amazing results for you, but you really have no idea. There's no evidence really. They've never really interacted with you at all outside of this one cold email. Versus, let's say someone else makes the same offer, says, hey, I can achieve all these things for you, but this person has actually shown value. Maybe they've done something for you for free. Maybe they've given you some insight, some tutorials. They've walked you through a demonstration of how they've actually done it with results. Of course, this person is gonna seem more credible. So if you are actually in the market to buy a solution, which of these people are you more likely to actually end up working with? And the answer is obvious. You're gonna be picking the person that seems to have a higher likelihood of future value. And for anyone who's saying, listen, my offering is really great, and people need to just pay in order to see how great it is. Unfortunately, welcome to the real world, where even if your services are really good, no one's gonna know until they actually work with you. But unfortunately, they're not gonna actually work with you to begin with unless you show value up front. And that's where a lot of companies that might even have worse services than you might ultimately beat you because they're just willing to provide more value upfront than you are willing to provide upfront. Now, of course, if you don't actually have a good service, then you're just gonna end up churning a lot, and then you'll lose a lot of companies on the back end. Whereas if you do have a great service, then you're gonna be more likely to get referrals, and then your business will be more sustainable. But if we're strictly talking about just net new client acquisition, the key is who can provide more value upfront. Now, the question that you might have is, what should this value look like? Well, first off, let's say you're a coach, consultant, agency, or some sort of service provider. You should be having a pretty in-depth understanding of what your clients need, their biggest problems, their biggest pain points, the things that they struggle with most. And this is really where your fee value is going to be based around. You can either decide on creating content, which is gonna help them with overcoming some of those issues that they have. And this could come in the form of tutorials, breakdowns, and guides, behind the scenes demonstrations of exactly how they could actually overcome those specific issues. For example, on my end, I've created this ultimate free course, and it's built inside a YouTube channel that has lots and lots of tutorials and demonstrations that pretty much hide nothing. Someone can look at this and they'll actually realize a lot of this content I could have charged for because it is really valuable, but I'm not gonna charge for it. And because of the fact that I'm giving so much free value up front, they're gonna start thinking, wow, if this free stuff is this good, then working with Lloyd directly one-on-one must be insane. And that's the key to understanding whether or not your free content or your lead magnets are actually good enough to do the job. It's, would people be willing to actually pay for it? And if people would be willing to pay for it, yet you're still giving away for free, then you know that you're onto something. Now, how do you actually package this up? My recommendation and my preference is actually deploying YouTube, because with YouTube, we're able to leverage long form audio and video, which is by far the best medium in terms of actually capturing engagement and building trust. It actually provides a much deeper level of insight than some of the other shorter form channels, and this is more conducive if we're actually trying to generate conversion down the line. You can package this up as individual videos, but for me, I'm actually gonna create some really epic, full, free courses with chapters and everything that really resemble something that they would normally have to pay for, because I know that'll increase the level of goodwill that I'm earning. YouTube is also cool because there's built-in features that allow you to be just more likely to generate conversion. Not just sharing of a calendar link, that's kind of obvious, but the algorithm promotes binging. I can't count the amount of times that I've jumped on sales calls with people who've said, I've binged like 2 to 3 hours of your content. That's not only because I can rearrange everything into chapters and playlists, but it's also because the algorithm, once they know that someone is watching a lot of my videos and they're into a specific topic, they're just gonna make sure that my face shows up every single that person logs back into YouTube, whether it be tomorrow or a week from now or a month from now. And that's not really possible if you put your videos outside of YouTube. And one other thing that I think is really cool about YouTube is that it has the ability to find brand new audience members that don't know who you are. Because obviously you could just share your videos directly to your existing audience, but even if you didn't, YouTube is smart enough to just find net new people who are interested in those specific titles and those keywords and those topics, and then you'll actually have brand new people discovering your name every single day. In the long term, I actually think that YouTube is the best thing that you can utilize for your personal brand. And I think we should know by now that a personal brand is the most scalable and the biggest value differentiator that you can generate between you and your competitors. There's a reason why you know, like, and trust people like Alex Hormozy or Gary Vee or Tim Ferriss more than someone else who just sends out a cold email. And it's because they've spent the time to actually add value and build a brand with their content. Now, a question that you might have is, if I give away all this free content, then why would they need to work with me anymore? But that's actually a false belief, because people will not be able to achieve all the goals that they have by just consuming your content. And it's the gap between where they are even after all of your content and where they actually want to be, whether it's in terms of their wealth or their relationships or their fitness. That gap is what will actually get them to ultimately buy your product, because your product is what will actually get them to get to the finish line. The reason why content on its own is still incomplete is for a couple reasons. First off, even if they have a lot of content, they still have to do everything on their own. Execution, application, they're not going to be able to have your help for that just because they have your content. Now, the next thing is, content oftentimes leaves out a lot of details that they will need in order to actually implement. And you've experienced this yourself, right? Consuming my videos, consuming other people's videos, even with all the detail that we provide, it's very likely that there's still a bunch of blanks and gaps that you just don't have answers for that you will need in order to fully realize your strategy. Next is that free content is oftentimes going to be generic. When I'm creating my videos, I'm creating it for what is a somewhat large audience. I can't custom personalize personalize it for you. But the reality is you're unique. You have a totally separate business with really unique characteristics that no one else is gonna be able to have. So even if my videos are 70% relevant for you, it'll be so much more impactful if I could actually sit down with you, have a conversation, really understand your particular strategy, your starting point, your specific objectives and bottlenecks, and giving you a personalized roadmap that'll help you overcome these issues. That's actually significantly more powerful than just watching some sort of generic piece of content online. Let's say you wanted to set up some sort of email campaign or LinkedIn outreach campaign and you were to watch my videos, it would get you 65 to 70% of the way there, but you still need to create your own copy. You'll still need to come up with your own lead lists. You'll still need to have to figure out all the tools that you specifically need given your use case. And none of that's gonna be explicitly talked about in my videos because my videos aren't for your specific business. So now you gotta take time to watch all the videos and kind of piece together the answers and then test it out and trial and error and make a bunch of mistakes which cost you time and money, and you're sacrificing opportunity costs, because if you just had custom built solution delivered to you that you could implement in the next 2 weeks, then maybe you could have gotten to the results that you're hoping for 6 months faster than you trial and erroring everything on your own and probably spending a lot of time and money. Now, of course, there's always gonna be a subset of your total audience that will just never buy anything. They're freebie seekers. They simply value money over time, which is frankly a very poor mindset to have, because you can always make more money, but you only have so much time. But a subset of your population will always just be cheapskates and they won't want to invest. And that's fine, because you're still adding value to them, and that will grow your brand, that'll grow your reputation, and they'll tell their friends about you. But there's always going to be a subset of the population that cares enough about whatever their objective is that they understand, you know what, working with this person is the biggest shortcut that I can have to my overall success. And I would rather do that and spend some money rather than toiling away and making mistakes for a year and beyond. And those people will potentially buy from you if they first trust you. But those same people who would buy if you don't provide any value up front, they oftentimes won't. And that's why the value of a lead magnet is so critical here. Once you actually have this content, what do? Well, obviously you're gonna wanna make an ask. Content on its own is not gonna be sufficient. So making the ask inside the videos itself, calls to action to book a call, because you're gonna be sharing your calendar booking links below, asking people to, hey, follow me and DM me on social media and let's have a bit of a conversation. And if you're not ready yet, just continue watching more and more of my videos so that maybe weeks from now or months from now, you will eventually reach out when you trust me enough or when it's the correct timing for you. Always having these calls to action to push people to the next step is critical. Now, some other misconceptions that people oftentimes have in regards to content creation and YouTube and providing these lead magnets is that they might think, oh, I need to have a massive following. But you don't. You don't need to be Mr. Beast. You don't need to be a celebrity. In fact, for me, I was able to generate my first clients with YouTube when I had only 200 subscribers. And even now, I have like under 1,500 subscribers, and we're consistently generating multi-five figures per month with YouTube. And I've only been using YouTube as a marketing channel for under half a year. So it can grow really, really fast, even in really, really niche spaces with a very small audience. And in this course that I'm providing you, I'll actually share with you how you can monetize YouTube very quickly, even if you're totally brand new. The other misconception is that you don't really need amazing editing. If it's very polished, it can help, but honestly, I have clients who literally just use their iPhone, have zero editing, all they do is just cut out the ums and ahs, and that's it, and they're also crushing it, doing multi-five figures, some of them even doing 6 figures per month. The third misconception is that you don't really need that much content. Some people think that you need to be cranking out like 2 or 3 videos every single week, but you don't, because I have clients who literally just made 4 YouTube videos. They just made them really, really good, and that's it. They've never really made more than those initial 4, but because those videos are so good and it gives a ton of value, it shows their ideal prospect exactly how to overcome specific issues, and the calls to actions are solid, they're consistently able to use those to monetize and push people further down the sales cycle. So because of the fact that you don't really need crazy production value or that much content, you really don't need to put that much time or money into the system. It's all about just knowing how to do it correctly. And you can even use this free course and all the videos on my YouTube channel as a reference point. This could be maybe the most important thing that you do for your business, giving more free value up front, because this is the difference between someone who's able to generate a lot of goodwill and trust with their audience and book a lot of calls compared to someone who is scrapping for leads and everyone seems to ignore them. And it's very possible you might think, hey, I don't want to spend the time and the money into even creating those small few pieces of content, but you really have to think about it. If you were able to generate 3 to 5x as many sales calls from just investing in a little bit of content creation up front, would it be worth the small investment that you're making in time and money with those few pieces of content, I mean, the math really should speak for itself. This is gonna be a return on investment that you're making every single month with just a very small amount of content. Now, let's say you actually have your lead magnet or your free course or whatever is the content that you're utilizing to build more trust. You might be thinking, how do I actually get it in front of people? Well, the wrong way to do it would be just to rely on YouTube's algorithm. I know YouTube can be a good way to get people to discover your content, but it's also very, very slow, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend it if you're looking to get quick results. The best way that I would say to actually utilize this content is to use it as part of your marketing campaigns. So this is really just the indoctrination or the nurturing section of your overall funnel. And that's why I'm talking about it right now. But to actually get it in front of people, you would be using things such as paid media or outreach, whether it be on email or on social media. So I'll actually break those methods of distribution down later on in my massive free course. But it's really important that you just understand this concept of having a free lead magnet and pillar content pieces, because utilizing them inside your marketing campaigns in order for someone to actually think that you're credible is going to be what allows them to build enough trust that they'll actually convert and book a meeting with you. Those distribution methods, whether it be outreach or paid media, that's only good to get eyeballs and attention. But once you have their attention, what are you going to do with it? Are you just going to try to ask them for a meeting despite them knowing nothing about you? Or are you going to try to show them that you deserve a meeting, right? Moving on to the next sections, I'll be talking a bit more about how to actually distribute this in those aforementioned ways. And of course, book a call with me below if you think this would be valuable to you, or send me a DM on social media where we can have a little bit of a conversation if you're not ready to book a call yet.